Hey y'all, I'm back here at my oak tree. This is the oak tree that for the last several years I have found chicken of the woods right around the base of this tree. I know this is at least 4 years of finding the mushrooms here, but maybe 5. But either way, I'm glad to find these. This will probably be some of the last mushrooms I find for a while. Yeah, let me cut some up and show you what I found. So I want to talk a little more this time in detail about these mushrooms, and particularly about the growth habit, because these were a little different. And this one in particular, this was the biggest one of them. It's got a flatter profile. It's got a really flat profile. This is a decent diameter chicken here, but usually one this size would be more mounded up and ruffled like. And you know, there's a dud and there's a couple smaller ones around. That's kind of typical of what I might find around this tree anyway. And I found one over here to the side that's actually growing in the crevice of the roots right on the tree. And I've seen this in other places, but not this particular spot. This is sort of my honey hole. This tree has always produced for me, and it's a living, healthy tree. So that brings me to the chicken of the woods, and in the field guides it's considered saprophytic slash parasitic, and I think a lot of field guides just consider it a saprophyte, meaning that it feeds on dead stuff, in this case dead rotten wood. But these, most of them are growing out of the ground, and that's the way I've always found them around this tree. And I don't think there's dead wood that's been under the ground that long that's feeding these big mushrooms, because I found some huge ones around here. So given that I see the one growing in the crevice of the root that I showed before, I think these mushrooms are parasitizing the tree. So I guess eventually they'll probably kill this oak tree, but who knows, that could take years, decades, or you know, maybe they can coexist. I don't know. But going back to the growth habit, now, first of all, I believe this is a Cincinnatus. You can see how white the underside of the mushroom is, and Cincinnatus is the species name. So there's a couple chickens of the woods that I find here in Arkansas. One of them sulphurous, the bright yellow underside one, and this one, which is a Cincinnatus, or that's at least the conclusion I've came to. Now, these were flatter and the petals were thinner, and the color is lighter than what I have found before. And the Cincinnatus is usually a lighter colored orange anyway. The top side's lighter colored as well. It's just not a pretty colored of mushroom, but the form of them to me is better. So what I think happened is it's hotter and drier. I think when we had the rain spell a few days before I found this, about a week or so before I found this, I think that prompted the mushrooms to fruit. But right after that it got fairly warm and dry, for the mushrooms at least. Now there's plenty of moisture in the ground, but the air, you know, and the humidity and everything got a lot drier and stuff really quick. So I think it changed the growth of these. Now, other thing that I want to talk about in this video is, as you can see here, I'm harvesting this thing. In the past, I used to cut the entire mushroom from the base, and this is sort of like trophy hunting, where you see these guys kill a deer and they have the rack and everything. I think that's sort of the same mindset that I had when I would cut the whole mushroom up. Now that doesn't hurt the actual mushroom, because this is just the fruiting body. The mycelium would be fine, but I'm only harvesting the petals here, and I'm being very selective about it, because what has happened in the past is I would cut this whole mushroom up, this whole fruiting body, and there is trash. There's leaves, sticks, bugs, worms, you name it, everything. This mushroom comes out and it just forms, and it just covers and engulfs everything around it. This whole thing probably formed in about a week or two. So you cut the whole mushroom, and there's just so much trash in it, and by doing it this way, pretty much everything that I'm throwing in the bag is usable, and it really doesn't need cleaning off. And I culled what didn't fit that. If it was dirty or had something in it, I just left it. But don't get me wrong, if I needed more mushrooms, there's a lot of that I could have used and would have went through the trouble to clean it up and use it. But usually when I find mushrooms, especially with these chicken of the woods, I find as much or more than I can use. So it wasn't a big deal that I left some of this. I kind of want to go back to the color. I diverged a little bit, but the color, even for the Cincinnatus, was lighter than usual, and that was making me think that this set of mushrooms was maybe a little too old, maybe a little past its prime. And with the chicken of woods especially, that's a big deal to me, because when the chickens are too old, they can get a real swanky taste, and they can get a real piffy, corky-like texture. Sometimes it'll even be stringy, but these were not. These were fresh. They felt good. They were moist. The pores looked really good. So I was just mistaken. Like I said, I think this weather just caused the mushrooms to look different growing, and probably got less of them. But being dry probably also contributed to the mushrooms themselves being drier and not overly wet and moist, which for me makes it a lot easier to cook with them. So yeah, this was a great mushroom day, full of surprises. I was really surprised to find mushrooms at all, and even more surprised at how good a condition these were in. And as far as the harvesting technique, this is not the first time that I've ever done it like this, but this is the most selective that I've ever been about it. And sometimes I can't be this selective. Sometimes the bugs are just so intense that I have to hack away at them and get gone. But they weren't that bad this day, and I spent my time, and I'll probably keep doing this. I'll probably keep being this selective, because I got what I needed. It was easier on me, and the stuff that I leave behind is still useful, like far as nature goes, because those petals still have thousands of pores left on them, and those pores are releasing millions, if not billions, of more spores of this chicken of the woods out into the wild. And hopefully me or somebody else will continue to find them out through the woods for years to come. And not to mention the bugs and worms and all the little animals that eat on the rotten mushrooms. So I feel like everybody wins. Maybe not the tree. He may be stealing nutrients. The mushrooms may be stealing nutrients from this oak tree, but so far everybody seems to be getting along. Alrighty, well, I got another sack full from the same tree, and it looks good. I think I have 3 or 4 pounds of really good usable stuff there. I got more than I intended to, because as I was doing it, I thought, well, I got a couple friends that might want a little mess of fresh mushrooms. Anyway, I did not expect to find these, so I am going to go check my shiitake logs. I'll probably see y'all later and check out now, but if I do find something over there, I'll show it to you. But if not, I appreciate y'all watching. Y'all be good. Bye. Check it out. There is one little guy hiding, and I don't think it's too bad.